From the 915 to H-Town, from the Panhandle Plains to the Valley, and everywhere in between. This is the 50/50 podcast, powered by National Scouting Report. Join me, Hector Cano, as we cover the Texas high school club and college soccer landscape, along with an inside look at the college soccer recruiting scene. The 50/50 podcast is a platform about the people and for the people who are dedicated to the beautiful game. Here we go. It's another edition of Inside Texas High School Soccer, brought to you by our proud partners, NSR, National Scouting Report. They are the world's leading authority on all athletic recruiting. You can get more information on socials, on Twitter X at NSR Now, as well as on Instagram at NSR_NOW. And you can also get more information on their website and the many great things they're doing at nsr-inc.com. All right, it is season 4, episode 3, Inside Texas High School Soccer. I'm joined by, as I always introduce him, the Obi-Wan Kenobi of Texas High School Soccer, Rafa Casorena. Coach, how are you, buddy?
Pretty good. How are you?
Hey, man, I'm gotta love the the beauty of doing live broadcasts, right? Sometimes technical difficulties and updates, and technology is great when it works. So. Apologies for getting going about 20 minutes later than expected, but thank you for being here. Got a lot to cover on today's show. We're going to go over the latest edition of the pound for pound, right? The self-dubbed Rafa Power Index, the RPI. This will be our second installment of the 2023-2024 season. We'll also look at our Region 1 preview. So we'll go across, look at Region 1 in 4A, 5A, and 6A. We'll talk a few schools. We'll talk a little bit in terms of maybe some districts. Now, we're not going to go through necessarily predicting every district, but some teams of note, maybe whether they're maybe district champions, dark horses, or teams that could surprise people this year in certain districts. And then we're also going to look at the debut, right? One of the ones that we really like to do here at Inside Texas High School Soccer is the debut of both our teams of the week for both boys and girls, as well as our Game Ball Awards. Pretty excited about those. But Rafa, before we dive into all of that, tell us what's the latest? What's going on with you?
Well, I just got breaking news that Xabi Alonso is going to be stepping down from Barcelona at the end of the season.
Wait a minute. Did you say Xabi? You mean Xabi?
Xabi Hernandez. Sorry, Xabi Hernandez. Sorry, no, not Xabi Alonso. Sorry, Hernandez. Sorry, got them mixed up. Yeah, okay. I just got the alert right now.
Okay. Is that like real legit? Or
yeah, it's real legit. I just got the alert right now.
Okay. All right. You threw me off there, right? Because given the recent news, you said Xabi Alonso, and then I was like, okay, so which one is it? Is it him? At Bayern Leverkusen?
He end up going to Liverpool. So.
No, exactly, right. So I'm in a state of mourning, as many know, right? Given the recent Friday afternoon dump news in terms of England time of Jurgen Klopp announcing that he will be stepping down from Liverpool at the end of this year. And but yeah, I mean, it's a mixed bag, right? It's bittersweet just because of all he's brought to Liverpool and what he's done. Such a beloved coach, from Mainz to Dortmund to Liverpool, everywhere he's gone, he's the definition, I think, of how you really measure a coach in terms of what he gets out of his players, what he's done in terms of and that unique connection in terms of with his clubs, those towns, those communities, everywhere he's gone. He's extremely beloved. And I guess the only thing Liverpool can do, right, in a quote from Major League is win the whole, right? But yeah, if they can do the actual, the quadruple and win all 4, that would be pretty amazing. So before we get into all of that, let's talk a little bit about that in terms of, it's amazing how these things work, right? Carlo Ancelotti says he's leaving at the end of this year for Brazil, changes his mind. Everybody thought Xabi Alonso would be the next in line, or the next favorite for the Real Madrid coach to be the coach at Real Madrid. Then Carlo Ancelotti has a change of heart. And then this bomb gets dropped on us yesterday with Jurgen Klopp. Thoughts on all of that.
Yeah, it's a kind of like a chain reaction on that.
Right.
The obvious successor, I think, for Ancelotti, was going to be Xabi Alonso, but now the Klopp's gone, which I honestly think he's going to end up being the German national team coach. I have a feeling he's going to do that. If they don't do well in the Euros this year, I don't be surprised if he's the one leading them to the World Cup. So I think Xabi Alonso now puts himself in a good spot to take, since he played at Liverpool, it makes sense. Right. So he understands the culture and all that. And that's sometimes, and that's coaching also, even in the high school level, some coaches come back to their alma maters or places they've coached before because they understand the culture and they understand what how the community is. So it's a never ending cycle, when it comes to that, it's what you can say. You see it here on the pros, the college level, even in the high school level as well.
Yeah. And, it's just, I mean, we'll see. Right. But, Xabi Alonso is in the unique situation of being very close, very beloved to both clubs, right? In terms of both Real Madrid as well as Liverpool. So it'll be interesting. And as you know, as a note that I put on there in our little group chat, right? The Texas High School Soccer Crew chat that we have. I firmly believe right now that Xabi Alonso, right, in keeping with our RPI format, right, pound for pound, you can make the argument that he may be the best coach in the world right now in terms of what he's doing, what he's done in maybe the last year and a half, what in terms of what he's getting out of his players, right? So we'll see. It'll be interesting. Also had some local news in terms of some local departures as well. It was a weird week, right? Just in terms of San Antonio FC as well. Thoughts on that in terms of the announcements of Jordan Farr, David Loera, both leaving San Antonio FC?
As far as with the David Loera, I kind of saw that happening. I know with us with the fan cast, we've kind of mentioned that he's only played, I think, a total of 6 games the last 2 years, and great talent. When he's on the field, he turns it on, but the injuries have really taken a toll, and just hasn't been able to really contribute. And I think Lexington, which Darren Powell, former SAFC coach, I think he sees some talent in him, and hopefully it works out for him there, that he stays injury free and then ends up getting back to the USL. Maybe he comes back with us or somebody else. But like I said, but the shocker was the one, and I think a lot of fans are still a lot of them real furious, was Jordan Farr being transferred to Tampa Bay Rowdies. And there's some conflicting stories on that. More of the he said, she said. I guess until we hear from Jordan's side, and then we hear from Orsina's side or from the new sporting director side what kind of went down. And I think this whole thing, like I said, it started when they made that change, close to 3/4 of the way when they got Marsman in, and really, like I said, really kind of tore up the fan base. And even now, like I said, it's going to be interesting on that game on the 24th. What type of response the fans are going to be towards Marcina? Is it going to be a positive? Is it going to be negative?
Yeah.
He's now, like I said, now in the hot seat. I know they got a quality keeper that has made it to, like I said, the MLS Cup and, experience with LAFC.
Right.
He's got to deliver, and then something like which I'll probably talk about tomorrow. It's basically get to the conference finals or bust. If you don't get to the conference final, I think there may end up being a change. And I think the fan, like I said, the fan base is really was really turned off on this. So we'll see. It's a loss because community wise, Jordan did a great thing for San Antonio, and he was well liked.
Oh yeah, great connection. It was a weird one. Both of them were kind of, I don't know. I guess you can kind of argue Jordan Farr is of a little bit of a shocker, but you can also see that maybe you can also make the argument that clearly the writing was on the wall for both of those. Particularly maybe Jordan Farr is just because of you saw how the fallout at the end of last year, and then just some of the signings, right? Some of the signings at that position that were taking place at the goalkeeper position. So, so I don't know. So a lot of people not shocked as well, but still can't believe it. Kind of one of those.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, all right, but enough of enough of that talk. But we're gonna go ahead. So, tell us, Rafa, as I bring this up. So, we're gonna go ahead and debut our latest edition as of today for our RPI, our Rafa Power Index. Go ahead, tell us a little bit about what is that about? What does that entail, Coach?
So it entails what pound for pound the best teams in the state, regardless of the classification, and so like I said, that's the ones that we recognize. The best programs currently, in the state of Texas, and this one was an interesting one because there are some teams that started at high, and then some teams that end up falling off, and then, like I said, I did this prior to last night. So, like I said, it doesn't reflect on what happened to when the games that played last night.
Right.
And I know there was a couple upsets. So, like I said, the next one, I'm sure there's going to be some changes. But
yeah, well, the precursor here, I guess the precursor here, let me jump in real quick, Coach, is I mean, that's it. These were as of yesterday morning, right? So obviously we knew there were matches played last night and a bunch of matches played today still, right? Just because in light of the weather that we've seen in parts of Texas over the course of the week. So keep this in mind as well. So some of these records are as of these standings were as of Friday afternoon, really. So these will change, and the next one, what we will do is follow up with Rafa. So the RPI, you'll notice the date on this. This was reflective as of yesterday, actually, even though we're live on today's show. But we will put one out on Monday, right, for the latest edition of the state RPI. That one will go out directly on social media, so you'll see that one will reflect latest records. And yes, there were some upsets. So, Coach, let's go ahead and let's take a look at these in little chunks of 5 here. So obviously the way this works, we have our top 15, our 15 that are actually in the RPI, and then we identify 5 additional ones that would be our next 5 in. So let's go ahead and take a look at these first 5 here, Coach.
So the first 5, like I said, we have Salt Lake Carroll, Wiley East, Flower Mound, Bridgeland, and Frisco Wakeland. As far as my number one, last year they were one of the top. Like I said, they were kind of neck and neck with them and Salina. You would think Salt Lake Carroll would, kind of tumble, not too much, but the loss, Kennedy Fuller, and they just haven't missed a beat. That record speaks for themselves. I know they had a close one, I think, last night. But this team doesn't, like I said, they don't rebuild, they reload, and I think they have a little chip on their shoulder as far as how they lost last year, and I think they're really out to prove a point, especially to the 6A teams that they should have been state champs last year again. So kudos to them. Like I said, they've been some quality teams. And then number 2, I have Wiley East. They've, like I said, really established a great program there. They made a great run last year. Could this be their year as well? Maybe we have a Wiley East Carroll final. That's a possibility. But I'm sure the third team may have a little say. Flower Mound, and Flower Mound beat actually Fillmore Marcus last night, and so they're on the up and up. So keep an eye on them. Bridgeland, I guess, another great program. I guess from the Houston area.
As strong as Bridgeland is, that's one that I feel is not getting
the respect,
enough of the love that they probably should. Yeah.
So keep an eye on them. If they can kind of piece everything together, don't be surprised if they end up in Georgetown. And then number 5, Frisco Wakeland. I think they've kind of bounced back from the disappointment from last year, and they're in that really tough district with Reedy and also Lone Star. So like I said, now the district's already started, so we'll see how this turns out for them, in the next few weeks.
Yeah. And I just mentioned Bridgeland, but you have Flower Mound there looks to be back of the Flower Mound that they were 2 years ago. Still early, right? These are still small sample sizes. But then even what you have in Wiley East, right? Wiley East has been very consistent over the course. You can really make the argument over the course of the last 3 years, 4 years. And then Frisco Wakeland is just they're always going to be in the mix. So, all right, Coach, let's go ahead. Let's take a look at our next 6 through 10 here.
So number 6, I have Bernie out of Region 4. They've been really consistent. Like I said, they're going to probably, like I said, they're also in probably one of the toughest 4A districts in the state. I know they have like Wimberley and they also have Davenport. Like I said, Davenport, I think they had Davenport on the last I think in the rankings as well. So, but Bernie's really kind of taken off. And then one I had pretty high was Midlothian. They had a couple losses, but still a strong team, strong program. 8 was one of my top one is Salina. Already 3 losses, and then last night they had even though it was a 0-0 game, they lost technically on the shootout. That's a little concerning there when, like I said, that against that Panther Creek team. We'll see on the second round of district play how that turns out. Can they learn from that? From that. I guess I honestly say loss. I mean, because it was a shootout. Can they get the win in regulation? And then Colleyville's doing what Colleyville does. Stay consistent. One of the top programs in the state year in, year out.
Right.
And then Ridgepoint, another one. Like I said, the last few years has been making some noise, and even though they have a loss, like I said, they're still one of those teams that can, we could see our Bridgeland Ridgepoint, a regional final as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and a lot of these here, particularly in these top 10, right? A lot of them from, we look back at the first edition, which was December 30th, I think it was, of the RPI, the state RPI here. A lot of these were in your top 10, top 12. They've just shuffled around a little bit, right? I think you had South Lake Carroll initially 5, I think it was, right, in the last edition. Mm-hmm. So yeah, so that's saying a lot. Wiley East was right there, I think 2 or 3, somewhere right in that mix. But yeah, we look at 6 through 10 here. Bernie, you can make the argument, right? It's early, yes, small sample size, but given some of the small hiccups, the small bumps in the road that Salina has had, particularly yesterday that you mentioned, they seem like a bigger deal because it's Salina, right? And the recent success that they've had. But despite that, I think obviously we know they're going to be there in the end. Coach Adams is going to have them there. But Bernie, right now, you could probably make, you can definitely make the argument that, Coach Jeremy Shannon has the Greyhounds, he has them maybe the class of 4A right now at this very moment, right? So great stuff there. Colleyville Heritage, Midlothian, definitely in the mix, and then Ridgepoint as well. Goes down a few slots, but when it's all said and done, right, coming out of Region 3, they're going to be there. So, all right, Coach, let's look at our last 5 here, 11 through 15.
So 11, I have Allen. Allen looks like they've gotten some big wins, just 1 loss. A new one that's came in that's really making some noise. And I'm Flower Mound. I keep kind of one eye open. It's Hebron, Louisville Hebron. Like I said, they're 8-1-1. Like I said, that district, like I said, with Hebron, Marcus, Flower Mound. Like I said, one of the toughest 6A districts for girls soccer. And then you have Georgetown. I still have high hopes for Georgetown. I think they're going to make a great run, even though I had a loss and a couple of ties. But they had some big wins, in the pre-district games, and so I think they'll be fine going into their district games coming up. And then another one I actually got to see last night was the San Antonio Johnson girls. I was actually impressed. They beat. It was a little close game towards the end. Against Brandeis, it was a 2-1 win for them. But I was very impressed by Johnson. The way they touch the ball, the way they attack, very physical. You can tell they have a lot of chemistry. And could this be the year that, for Region 4 for 6A girls, a San Antonio team finally knocks off some of those Austin teams or the Round Rock teams? Because, like I said, they've kind of been their thorn on their side the last I think three or 4 years. And it's been a while we had a San Antonio team that made it to Georgetown. So they may be the one that finally breaks through, this season. And then another one that's kind of came out of nowhere is Prosper. I know Prosper's had a great program, just haven't had much of the recognition, but now they're, because they've made made a statement so far in the season, just one loss, but some quality wins. Like I said, going into their district play.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, excuse me. Yeah, I mean, Allen, Hebron, doing off to great starts. Hebron's definitely, again, these are established programs. Allen started, I think Allen came in previously, had them last edition. I think they were sitting at somewhere about 9 or 10. So they're still right in that mix. One that I've been very impressed with has been, Coach Venegas, Eduardo Venegas, Georgetown Lady Eagles. They have played a gauntlet of teams, right? So to have that record, I think is saying something. And they were, had we introduced the team of the week award probably about a week earlier, they would have probably been my selection. So they've played that good against that many quality opponents. So kudos to them. And then, yeah, I hear you on Johnson. Definitely seem to be the talk of a lot of people in this area, right where we're at here in the greater San Antonio area. And then Prosper off to a 9-1 start. And it just looks odd seeing Prosper all the way down at 15, right? Just given their success, the power of the program. But yeah, I think they're going to be make a strong push as we progress in their district. And all right, Coach, this brings us to our next 5 in. So these would be our next 5 that are essentially on deck, ready to break into the RPI at any given moment. And they could be in the top 15 when we release our updated rankings after this weekend's results on Monday.
So we have Anna and then 4A, which is actually in the same district with Salina. And I think they're playing, this coming week. So could Anna, make a statement and get a regulation win against Salina, and if they can get that, that'd be huge, for that program. And so, like I said, they could be, one that creeps into the top 15. The one that's kind of taken a tumble has been the defending state champs, the Marcus Lady Marauders. They're at 6-3, and then like I said, they had a loss last night with Flower Mound, which is always a tough game. But I don't count them out. Like I said, they're still the state champs. Like I said, until someone knocks them off from the playoffs. Like I said, they have the talent to make another run. They get hot towards the end and make a run in the playoffs. Another one that's kind of been under the radar is actually Leander. Leander's at 9-1, 5A for they're in 5A. Could be one of the favorites. I know they did some good things last year in the playoffs. And like I said, this year they could even go further. Maybe challenge. So some of the teams in the San Antonio area. So, I guess I could keep an eye on them. And another program, Byron Nelson, 9-1, in that tough region. Region ones just have loads of, especially in 6A, loads of talented teams. And, to come out 9-1 right before the district play, it shows that, that program's really kind of taken off. And then another one that kind of been a perennial power, in the past, Capel's really kind of turned it up a notch. Another Region 1 power there with 8-1-1. So I wouldn't be surprised, like I said, any of these 5 getting to the top 15 pretty soon.
Yeah, so much history there when you talk about Capel. But yeah, Anna and Salina coming up. That's going to be a good one. That's going to be a big one, right? Is Salina there for the taking for Anna? Is this the preliminary? Obviously, they'll have to play twice, but is this the potential changing of the guard, if you will, right? Marcus, I think Flower Mound Marcus will be back. They'll regroup still early. They're again testing themselves as well. And I agree with you. There was some talk early in the preseason about Leander. Then it just kind of filtered away a little bit. And then here they are off to a 9-1 start. And same thing with Byron Nelson as well. So great stuff. All right, Coach, that's going to bring us. So that's again, the initial RPI, or I shouldn't say the initial, but going into this weekend, we will follow it up on Monday, released the latest edition of the RPI, given this weekend's results, because again, these were as of yesterday afternoon. So, all right, we'll move on to the boys, Coach, take us through 1 through 5.
So the boys haven't had quite a few changes. The ones from the initial list, there were some that actually kind of took a tumble a bit, and there's some that we had some new contenders on here. But the one that's been kind of the constant is Seven Lakes. Seven Lakes is still your number one team in the state. They're your defending 6A champs, and they have a good opportunity to kind of repeat. I know they had a big week. Some key wins this past week. That district they're in, it's always tough. It's a playoff game for them, and like I said, they're ready to make that run in late March and early April. Two of Flower Mound, remember Flower Mound actually won state a few years ago. Seeing them bounce back now, and like I said, they're undefeated. Like I said, they're in that tough district with Marcus and Hebron. And you can see, and if you see right below, Marcus is right behind them, so they're going to be in the collision course, pretty soon. I didn't get the results of. I think they played last night, so I haven't gotten the results yet. So that can be a changing factor as far as the rankings there. And then another team that's, like I said, wasn't really in the initial list is Mesquite. Mesquite at 8-1, just kind of out of nowhere. They've won some quality games, and like I said, we'll see if they can maintain momentum and win their district title, and we'll see what they do in the playoffs. And the one that's been kind of getting a lot of buzz, especially around our area here, is Pflugerville Conley. They're 8-1. I know they recently had a tie in one of the district games, but I think they'll bounce back from that. But they had a big win, I think, in the Governor's Cup. They knocked off a Southwest 5-1. So I think they made a statement there that, they're for last year was not a fluke. They're for real, and they're ready to make another run to Georgetown this year.
Correct. Yeah. All indications on Pflugerville Conley's they are better than last year, and I think a lot of the talk is you make that same argument with Katy Seven Lakes, right? Defending 6A state champs. And then, you talked about the upcoming collision course or the recent collision course there between Flower Mound Marcus. Pending those results. And then, I thought it was a little bit of an eye opener for me when I saw where you had Mesquite, but I was like, okay, we'll see. We'll test them. But I agree with you definitely on Pflugerville Conley getting a lot of the buzz in this area. And to see potentially, a lot of people saying it's like, hey, forget about just, region 1, region 3, what have you. Pflugerville Conley could they potentially be the class of all of 5A this early into the season? So, all right, Coach, 6 through 10. Let's take a look.
So at 6, I have Dallas Jesuit. They're at 6-1. Another great program. Really doesn't get much of the attention because of all of the teams there in their area, like your Flower Mounds and your Marcuses and your Copels. They're going to be a very dangerous team, especially when the playoffs. They could literally get in, like I said, make a run to Georgetown this year. Another team, like I said, last year that was really good was Austin Bowie. I think they're like I said, I know they fell short last year. They're looking to rebound here. They're currently at 7-1. They're in that tough district with Westlake and also Lake Travis and Dripping Springs. Like I said, which we had Dripping Springs make that run last year to the final. Can get Bowie get together. Not only win district, but also win Region 4. And then next I have Bernie. What you can say about Bernie? Coach Strong has them again, making another run. I know last year they fell short, but I think this year, and actually recently did get to see them play. They beat a really good Waxahachie team at the Alamo Heights tournament. So, to beat a team two classifications up, that's been a playoff team. That shows something there. A team that kind of took a tumble a little bit is Palestine. They're still, like I said, they're going to still be the strong team there in Region 2. I know they can be in contention with the Salina boys too as well. I know they had a really bad key loss to a team from the Dallas, one of the 4As from the Dallas area. I think it was a Faith South Oak Cliff. We'll see how they bounce from that. And then Lone Star, like I said, I've had them high. Like I said, they're in that tough district with Reedy and Wakeland, but so far they're at 6-1. So those are your 6 of 10 currently right now.
Yeah, I think Dallas Jesuit. Everybody recognizes the name, and yeah, I think a good placement given who they've played and where they're at in terms of the timetable of their schedule. Austin Bowie was kind of the big right. So much talk about them going into the playoffs, and then I know there was a lot of people that kind of felt that um, underperformed at a certain point. So they're off to a great start here. How do they respond from or I guess what they would proclaim as definitely falling short of what their expectations were. And then Bernie, you talk about Coach Strong, the only coach that smashes more Monster Energy drinks on game day than me, right? And love the dude, man. Love his energy and just what he brings to that community. And you want to talk about just having them bought in, all in, and culture, and just understanding who they are, what they are, how they want to play, and buying into the philosophy there. That's Bernie, right? So yeah, it looks like he has him back, right? I know it's kind of this is a year where he's trying to gauge a little bit more of what he has, right, in terms of certain positions, but they're definitely off to a great start. Palestine is again one of those coming off of a great season last year. They're off to a great start this year, and then the defending state champs, Frisco Lone Star, at 10. I think when it's all said and done, just navigating their own district, right? Can they do that to work their way through? Because if you can make it through that district, you're looking, the odds have told us that you're looking at making a run all the way to the state final. All right, Coach, let's look at 11 through 15 here.
So 11, having Brownsville Nevada, which last year, like I said, they made a run all the way to the regional final for 6A, Region 4. Currently undefeated. Probably going to be the favorite for the district title in 32 6A. Another team that's kind of been, like I said, they've had some good teams in the last couple of years, and this year, it's kind of also flying under the radar. Is Austin Vandegrift. They're at 7-1, and they're on that tough 20. Also, like I said, I know 26. 6A gets kind of like a lot of the attention, but 25 6A is also a very tough district too, because you also have Ron Rock McNeil, Ron Rock High, and you can see Vandegrift, like I said, kind of navigating through there. If they can get through that district title, it'll be good. Could be one of those teams that gets to Tacoma Lander in April. I know the Frisco teams, Lone Star, Wakeland, really kind of get the attention, but now we have Frisco Centennial. I think they're ready to kind of crash the party here for Frisco ISD, and so far they're at 6-1, so quality wins, and keep an eye on them. They could be the other Frisco team that makes it to Georgetown this year. So
because why not, right? Let's just throw another one in the mix. Why not?
So like I said, we'll see how they do, and then the next one, it's College Park. I know the Woodlands gets a lot of attention, but the sister school's doing some damage right now. They're 8-0, and could this be the year that they win the district title again and also go deep in region 2? And the last, I have Brownsville Porter. I guess they're one of the best teams out there in 30, probably one of the best teams in 5A for Region 4. They're 8-1, should be the favorite in that brutal 32 5A. Like I said, they've well-established program. They got like I said, they have the history there, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see them, like I said, back in the regional tournament, even also back to Georgetown as well.
Yeah, that is an interesting group that that you have there at 11 through 15. And you definitely make an argument for all of them, right? In any order. Obviously, people that know Texas high school soccer very familiar with the Brownsville Rivettas and the Porters of the world, so not shocked there. Vandegrift boys kind of flying under the radar a little bit there. Frisco Centennial, you talk about the relatively new kid on the block, right? And then College Park, right? So interesting group here. Curious to see what our next edition looks like on Monday, Coach. All right, let's go ahead. Let's look at our next 5 in that would be projected to break through. Go ahead and take us through those, Coach.
So the next 5, I have Denton Ryan. Like I said, they're not known too much on soccer, but they've done a good job this year. They've gotten some quality wins. They're 8-1, and they could be one of those teams that could kind of spoil the party there in the region, and and make a deep run in the playoffs. The second one I have is Salina. They're right now currently 8-1-2. Same region with Palestine. Like I said, is this the year that Salina finally kind of knocks off Palestine, and they punch their ticket to Georgetown? Like I said, I think those two are pretty much on a collision course in late March, early April. And then Allen, like I said, great program. A couple losses, but still, they're playing quality teams and still a great program. I think they're still favored to win their district and make a run in the region. For Midlothian, I know we had kind of had them high, a couple losses there, but like I said, it's still a great program. And then we have another Denton here, Denton Geyer. I know they were upset last night, but like I said, they've beaten some good teams too as well. Like I said, I think right now they're currently I think it's 6-2-1, but they may make some noise too as well. Come March.
Yeah, refresh my memory. I was trying to remember that right when I saw that. Who did Geyer lose to last night again? Who was that?
Don't remember.
Yeah, neither do I.
I know it was like an upset.
I remember seeing the result come in, but it was pretty late when I saw it. But regardless, kudos to them. Both, we got two Denton schools in there, Ryan as well, and Salina just eking their way up there. A well coached, just a well coached program there. Cody's done a great job there. Then our Allen boys, who were featured on here recently, and just getting ready to break through there as well. And then Midlothian. So yeah, good group there. But yeah, that does it for our initial or not. I keep saying initial, but our initial RPI of this year, I guess, of 2024. But now that district play has started, any other coach, maybe some honorable mentions, maybe one or two on the boys' side or the girls' side that didn't get mentioned in here that you kind of would like to highlight? Anybody?
Yeah, the girls one's really, like I said, it's real competitive, and there are some good teams out there. I think the Salado girls, there's one to keep an eye on them. There's also I'm just looking at one that doesn't really get much attention, is the San Angelo Central girls. That's a team that they're undefeated. They had a big win last night, and they could they be the one that kind of breaks that little Dallas monopoly there, and finally get through and make their way to the regional tournament. And then on the boys side, there's, like I said, there's different teams. Keep an eye, because one in particular I was looking at, Forward Castleberry. Keep an eye on them. I know Diamond Hill Jarvis gets kind of the attention, but I think this is probably the other forward team that could be.
Don't mess with my guys, man. Don't mess with DHJ. Don't mess with my guys.
So,
right.
Keep an eye on them.
I hear you on Castleberry. Yeah, I hear you.
So that goes in.
And I don't know if you caught this earlier. I wanted to bring this back up from Limsey. So indicating that Frisco Lone Star and Frisco Reedy will play this Friday in district play. So should be a great matchup right there. All right. So that's going to take us over onto our next one. So the debut or the unveiling, whatever we want to call it, of we'll go with Rafa first, our teams of the week and our game balls. Coach, take it away.
So my team of the week, like I said, is from my backyard there in San Antonio, is the San Antonio Johnson Jaguars, which I actually got to see them play last night. They played a real rough non-district schedule, but I think they're going to be the favorite for 28-6A. Like I said, I was really impressed last night how the way they touched the ball, how they work, their attack. And like I said, this is a team to keep an eye on. I know they're gonna have some tests, come playoff time. Can they get by those tests and get to to Comalander for the regionals, and then hopefully for them punch their ticket to Georgetown. So that's my from my boys team of the week. And for the girls, Conroe Oak Ridge, they don't get much attention, and this year they really kind of. Last year they only won 7 games, and currently right now they're 8-1. So they won more games than they won last year, and they had a big win knocking off the Woodlands at the Woodlands, and then they also had another win this week. And could this be the year for them to make some noise in their region, and hope for them to make a deep run. And so congratulations to both teams.
Yeah, this is great stuff. It's a great list. And did you hit on your game balls as well?
Well, my game balls, like I said, I'm going to give it to Andrew La Placa, San Antonio Johnson goalkeeper. I saw him play last night, some great saves. He's actually back-to-back clean sheets. So he's really he's getting that Johnson defense going back there. And then for the girls' game ball, I'm giving this to Juliana Millen from McAllen High. She just recently made the 100 goal club. She had a hat trick versus Pioneer to get her over that. So congratulations to both. So those are my game balls for both players.
Man, how much did Johnson pay you, man? You went all Johnson on the boys, right? No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. No, now Coach Johnson has done a great job there, and wouldn't disagree with any of these. Well done. All right, so we're gonna move over to mine. I'm gonna go ahead and highlight teams of the week for me, and this was kind of lots of tough ones here for a number of reasons, but so for my boys' team of the week, I kept going back and forth on this one. Didn't actually finally make this decision until maybe about hour and a half ago. But decided to go with my good friend Coach Gilbert Villarreal at San Antonio Reagan, given just how he's had them playing in form as of late, and then particularly coming off of a big win last night versus Lee, 28-6, battle for supremacy there in the mix again, also with Johnson, which you just mentioned, right? So all these teams, we talk about in Region 4, it's the SEC of Region 4 because they're constantly beating each other up in the process, right? So, but yeah, so team of the week for the boys, San Antonio Reagan, congrats to them. And then on the girls' side, my girls' team of the week, actually going to go with Farmersville. They had their first district win in over 2 years. Honorable mention on this one. I did not want to go. I definitely did not want to go too much San Antonio on this, obviously, but a big honorable mention and a shout out to the John Jay Mustangs on the girls' side, who recently had their first ever win over O'Connor, right? You recall that, right? In program history. So definitely didn't want to overlook that one. So worth mentioning, but girls team of the week, I'm going to go with Farmersville. Game balls, Axel Gomez from Saxe recently had a hat trick versus Wiley East in a 4-1 victory, and has just been a big presence there for Saxe. So congrats to him. And then on the girls' side, Lake Travis, Brecken Farrell just came back, was out for almost a month, right? Injury, comes back, hits the what I believe was the game winner in their victory, their 2-1 win yesterday for first place battle versus Austin Anderson, which that's another team to keep your eye on when we talk about just Anderson, of how well Coach Horvath has them playing. And so yeah, pretty phenomenal stuff. These are always tough guys, right? They're just tough. And we could probably have a list of about a dozen honorable mentions. So, but yeah, these are our boys teams of the week, boys and girls teams of the week for me, along with game balls as well. Anything to add on these, Coach?
No, like I said, just congratulations to all the teams and the players. Like I said, we're you can say we show the talent that we have here in the state of Texas. To have a few 100 goal stores, be in that club, it's very tough to be in that, and like I said, I know next week we're actually going to talk to one that actually recently scored over 100 goals too, on the round table. So tune in on that. So and that's done through the tap side. So
yeah.
So that's a very, 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 like I said, very honorable, club to be in that, to score over 100 goals.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. And before we move on, right, we're going to go ahead and look at our Region 1 preview next. We want to go ahead and tell you about our good friends over at Gippers. So Gippers, the way that schools, athletic departments, ADs, and coaches create world-class marketing content. Join over 2,500 coaches and ADs and use Gipper to create high-quality visual branded graphics for your program. The best part, anyone can do it in seconds without needing any design experience whatsoever. If you do have that design experience, right, you're very familiar with Photoshop, Canva, what have you. This is designed with you in mind as well, for what they call the power user, because it gives you an unlimited number of options. So listeners, just for listening to the podcast, being a supporter of the podcast, you can save and you can receive 10% off any first time Gipper purchase. Simply visit gipper.com/partner/5050 to learn more. Again, that's gipper.com/partner/5050. And our other good friends at Global Scarves. Global Scarves is the top provider of custom knitted scarves, beanies, and other fan merchandise in the U.S. All merch is fully custom with free design services and free shipping on all orders. You can contact them. Our good friends, Bill and Kyle. I was just on the phone with Kyle the other day, actually, as we're mocking up. We're glad to announce, we're continuing our partnership with them. They've been so great to us. And we're continuing the mock-up of our new, our 2.0 version of our scarf, getting ready to come out. I'm already excited. It's gonna be even better than last year's. But you can contact them at info@globalscarves.com to get any free designs or quotes built out for your school, club, supporters group, booster club. You want to put that together as well. They're the guys to do it. Again, contact them at info@globalscarves.com. Mention the podcast or use the code #5050pod. All right. So, Coach, we start looking at, let's see if I can find it here. There we go. All right. So our next one. So here we're going to go ahead. We're going to dive into our Region 1 preview. And so we're going to work our way up from 4A in ascending order from 4A to 6A. We'll start off here. These can sometimes be a little hard to read, but we'll go ahead and see if we can maximize this a little bit. So 4A Region 1, initial thoughts, Coach, as we look at districts 1 through 8 here.
So the boys' side, like I said, really it's been, San Eli and everyone else. They've really been the established program there for Region 1. But then you're starting to get some other contenders, like I said, like Dartmouth Hill Jarvis has become, is one that's popped up. You also have other teams are coming up as well. Like for example, like Stephenville for the boys. I think they've done well too and so it's always interesting. Like I said, now you also have Castleberry, they're kind of like on the scene now. And then also keep an eye on the Lubbock Cooper teams too. The new Liberty team. They may be young, but they could have some talent. And also the San Angelo Lakeview, they've done also well too. But like I said, it's been pretty much San Eli and everybody else who's this year's going to make a run to knock them off. As far as the girls' side, you got a lot of pretty much quality talented teams. You have Salado, you have Stephenville, like I said, made it to the state final last year. So that District 5 must be a barn burner of a district for 4A. And like I said, you also got a good Brownwood team too. So it makes things tough there. And also Lampasas, like I said, they made some noise like the last couple of years. Girls side, also the San Eli girls, they've really established themselves as their program. Same thing with the San Angelo Lakeview girls. Wichita Falls, this is kind of the last hurrah for them, for both the boys and the girls. Could be the ones that before they make the new changes with the new schools, can they make a run this year? So it's but it's like I said, they're very competitive. Like I said, you have kind of like your established programs already, but like I said, you never know. This district's always unpredictable.
Yeah. I mean, I agree. I hear you. I think you look at this on 4A boys side. That district 1 is a behemoth, right? 1-4A. You got so many quality programs there that just not too long ago. I mean, when I was in El Paso, a chunk of these schools were still 5A, right?
Yeah,
they're very new. So I'll be curious to see what this district is going to go through more changes, significant changes in the next realignment, which we'll get to that in a minute. But so much so that this could be split in two, right? Because there will be changes. There definitely will be changes in this in terms of this potentially getting bigger, right? As far as the district goes, or just new entry, new teams that enter the mix at the 4A level out of the El Paso area. But yeah, and then I think on the girls side, different story, right? You got multiple powers, right, spread out across multiple districts in this region. So definitely agree with you on that one. So all right, we move on. We look over at 5A. Um, so as we look at, again, 8 districts here, uh, this one's a little different in terms of one out in El Paso, out far west. You got districts 1 and 2. Interesting mix here, just in terms of how they do things, but a lot of great programs. We talk about District 4. I mean, top to bottom, another, I would argue, one of the most underrated districts in the state, right? Just in terms of not just the talent level, but the exceptional level of coaching that is in this district. I don't think enough people are truly aware of that. But thoughts on this, Coach?
Yeah, region ones for 5A is really interesting because you have some power. Well, we'll start with the girls. There's some powerhouses there. Well, you have like the Defending State Champ Grapevine, which right now they're kind of struggling a little bit, but I wouldn't write them off yet. And then you can say you have Colleyville Heritage, that, and then you have Argyle. That District 7 is probably the toughest district in that region. And then you got other teams. You got some of those Mansfield teams. You got Midlothian Heritage too. District 8 is not a slouch either. And then you mentioned about District 4. Abilene's have really made some noise, especially last year. Now they're looking forward to go deeper this year. Amarillo girls, I think they've got a well-established program. We'll see if any of the El Paso girl teams can make a run this year. I know some of the 6A ones kind of get more of the recognition. Can Del Valle, like I said, I know they've kind of fell short. There was some disappointment a couple of years ago. Can they make a run? And then also you have like District 5, like Wichita Falls Rider. I know this is their last year, but girls side, they've always had a great program. As far as with the boys, like I said, it's kind of the same thing, but you look out west, you look at District 2, you got Bel Air and Del Valle. I mean, that could be a regional final there. They're on opposite sides of the brackets.
Well, you got to keep in mind though too. You got to keep in mind is, yes, they have the same kids, but how different does El Paso Del Valle look now without Coach Reichman, right?
Yeah,
who just recently retired, and I hope he's doing well, Coach. We're thinking of you. But yeah, how different will they look in terms of just mentality, philosophy, the fact that there's a new coach at the helm right as the season was starting. So how different will they be? It's gonna look different to a certain extent. The question is how much.
Yeah, and then you have other teams as well. Like in District 4, keep an eye on that Lubbock Monterey team. They've won some really good games. Amarillo High boys, they've always had a good established program. District 5, Wichita Rider, and like I said, they've won some state titles. Like I said, this is their last year. Can they make that last run? Then, like I said, District 7 as well. Because I look at we have Dent Ryan, like I said, mentioned in our RPIs. You have Birdville, you have Colleyville Heritage. So real tough district. Same thing with, like I said, with the Midlothian teams too as well. So it's going to be, like I said, there's really no clear-cut favorite here because whoever's pretty much the team that's hot, in the playoffs is probably the one that ends up winning the region. So, or playing their best soccer too as well.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, multiple great districts on both sides of the house, both the boys and girls. You look at District 7, and then we look at what's going on there with the Mansfields in District 8, Midlothian and Heritage as well. And Heritage still making their adjustment from just being the class of 4A for so long. And then and then District 4, District 3, particularly on the boys side, right? You look at 2, 3, and 4 here in Region 1. No real I mean, no real slouches, but you have some powers, right? You have some teams that they come to play. You know exactly what you're going to get from a lot of these programs, week in and week out, right? So I agree with you in terms of you start talking about Amarillo, Pelodoro, another underrated program, I believe, and Tascosa girls as well. Very well coached programs there in the Plains and the Panhandle. And again, we just talked about it a little while ago with District 4 as well. We talked about the recent run, the recent success of Abilene High as well last year on the girls' side. But we got Wiley there, and yeah, I think very excited to see how a lot of these districts at 5A unfold.
Yeah.
So, all right, and we move on to our final classification here in 6A. Coach, take us away.
6A is kind of like also kind of a little bit of a mirror image of 5A. I mean, you got some really tough teams, both boys and girls. And like I said, with the girls side, it's District 6. You look at District 6. That's your pretty much the your SEC of girls soccer, maybe boys soccer too. I mean, you got Capel, you got Flower Mound, you got Hebron, Marcus, and don't forget the Plano teams too, because the Plano East and West and Plano High can play too as well. So that's a district that really, like I said, will get you prepared for that run to Georgetown. And then also District 5, probably almost just as equally as talented. You got Allen, you got Denton Geyer for the girls. You got McKinney Boy, Prosper. So 5 and 6 is really, some top notch. And then you got other districts. Like I said, don't count out Dallas Highland Park. Highland Park's always a well-established program, especially with the girls. Also like Lake Highlands, District 8, you look at some of the Arlington teams. 4 too, you got, like I said, your number one on the RPI, South Lake Carroll. I think they're on a mission. You can tell they're on a mission from what happened last year, and they want to take care of business. And also another team that I could have mentioned also in the RPI is the Keller girls. They've actually had an excellent season too. It's gonna be interesting when they match up once they play South Lake Carroll. Keller. The Keller girls. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, no doubt. Yep.
So yeah, keep an eye on them. They may surprise some teams this year. And then you got other teams out west, like San Angelo Central. The girls have done a great job this year. They're undefeated currently. And then the El Paso area, Franklin, make a run. Maybe the East Lake girls, Pebble Hills. So very, very competitive. But like I said, a lot of it runs through District 5 and 6.
Yeah, I mean, where do you begin? You talk about 6A, Region 1. Oh my God. Yeah, so many great programs, so many great teams. And you can take your pick, whether you want to talk about boys' side or girls' side. We could literally probably have an entire show about, I don't know, 5 or 6 of the 8 districts in Region 1, just in terms of talking about strengths or projected strengths, things to work on, who can win the district, what have you. But yeah, we look at District 1 out in El Paso. That again, that is another one in terms of El Paso. That's one where they totally beat each other up. Same thing. So whoever can usually survive that comes out, makes a couple of on the girls' side, makes a run, couple of rounds typically. And then on the boys' side, as we know, Eastlake as of late has really cemented themselves as a state power. So and then you look at District 5 there. We look at District 6. We look at District 4 again with South Lake Carroll. I agree with Keller as well. We just had Corey Oglesby, Rusty Oglesby's wife. She just came on our last episode, actually. Had a little cameo. So thank you to to Corey. But yeah, I mean, this is just, and then you look over at District 7 is one that intrigues me. Who's going to come out of there? Because I see some very strong teams. You talk about Highland Park. We talked about Jesuit earlier, or Irving MacArthur. What are we going to get out of Irving this year after what they had last year? Right on the boys' side, so many great teams. Any particular dark, we mentioned Capel earlier as well, along with our Flower Mounds and Marcus's here. Any particular one or two dark horses that intrigue you this far into the season, Coach? Maybe a little bit under the radar. They're not on any RPIs. They're not making any rankings, but kind of the buzz is barely beginning, maybe.
Well, Keller will be one of them because they, boys and girls. Remember last year, the boys, they were supposed to make some noise last year and they kind of fell short. Can they bounce back and be in there? Because if you look at this region, boys and girls sides, there's actually probably 10 teams that could literally win the state title. I mean, that's just how deep this region is. And other teams, I know kind of under the radar, Wolf for Friendship, that's another team. They did well last year. Could they be the one?
That appears to be the friendship of old, right? That we've known for a while now, particularly on the girls' side. I'm speaking on the girls' side here. But yeah, I agree.
So like I said, there's some teams that can, can bring it, and they may surprise some of the kind of like the marquee name teams in Region 1.
Right. I'm going to tell you one. Maybe on both sides. I know we've had some conversations. It's just out in District 2. Keep your eye on San Angelo Central, right? Just keep your eye on them. So I'll I'll leave it at that. Little teaser, right? I'll leave it at that. But all right, that's gonna do it for a Region 1 preview. We'll dive into this obviously a little bit more in depth with some different angles of approach as we look at other regions. The goal was to have a special guest join us today. We're trying to target having a special guest join us from every region when we preview every region, because next episode we'll look at Region 2 and then we'll work our way through. Following episode, we'll look at Region 3 and then wrap up with Region 4 well before the state playoffs when district play is still going on. But yeah, I mean, so we've covered a lot of ground here today, Coach, as far as RPIs. Again, these RPIs were as of yesterday afternoon, Friday afternoon. They did not reflect any updates in terms of yesterday's scores. And the reason why we did that was because there were so many games that were still going to be played today, right? So the updated RPI rankings will go out by Monday. So look for them on our social media, all our social media outlets. And so state RPIs will go out on Monday. Coach, that's going to do it, man. We kind of we got a little bit of a late start, but it was an efficient episode, right? So we work our way to stoppage time. Kind of tell us a little bit of what's on your mind, shout outs, thank yous, anything you want to hit on as it relates to the game or whatever, just what's on Obi-Wan Kenobi's mind. Go ahead, give us.
Just kind of looking forward, like I said, more, see what this season brings. Like I said, it's intriguing because if you when I did kind of the list and all that, some of the teams, that we thought, we were going to do well, they've kind of faltered a little bit. But I think also that has to do because they're playing quality competition too as well. So you can't fault them on them because they want to play the best of the best because it's going to get them prepared, for the season. And what matters is what you do in the playoffs, because that's the one that's holding the trophy in April is the one that's what's going to mean the most. So I know a lot of these teams, there are kind of like the powerhouses may not have the reflection on the records, but don't count them out because they could be the ones that end up having the trophy in April.
Yeah, I agree. I'm excited. We're starting to get into that. Obviously, we still don't have, I was talking with a Region 1 coach earlier in the week. Two of them actually, with two different. One, they don't start district play till next week, and another district, they don't start district play till I think they're going to be almost into the second week of February before they start district play. So obviously, not every district is in district play yet, but we are across the state, particularly at the 5A and 6A level. We are overwhelmingly into the start of district play. Excuse me. My final thoughts. Kind of wanted to give a shout out, personal shout out here to a fellow 50/50 podcast alum that we've had on here not too long ago, actually. He is the head men's soccer coach at Deer Park, Coach Jerry Hurtado, who recently had his 500th coaching victory. Coach, just wanted to congratulate you, tell you, proud of you, happy for you. And just in terms of what you're doing there in the greater Houston area, obviously you haven't been just at Deer Park where you accumulated all those wins, but what you're also doing on the club side as a director and doing things the right way. So very proud and very happy for you. 500 wins, man. That's a lot. That's a lot. So very happy for you again, Coach Jerry Hurtado, the head men's soccer coach of Deer Park. Very happy for you. So again, a reminder: you can, if you're watching this, obviously on the header here, you can find us. You can go subscribe, follow us on Twitter X, as I call it, right, at 50_50 podcast, as well as on Instagram, and we're currently on Instagram Live as well at 50_50 podcast. You can also find us, go on there, go to the YouTube channel, which we're particularly trying to grow. Just simply search the 50_50 podcast. Go on there, subscribe, sign up for notifications for when we go live. Same thing on Instagram Live, sign up for notifications. And the goal is to continue to grow this. Really grateful for all our supporters, all our listeners. They continue to be the reason why we do it, and that's why we always mention it, so we never forget our why. Grateful for our parents, our student athletes, our parents, our coaches, everyone that makes up our community, right? After all, we talk about it taking a village, but how far we've come in terms of the coverage of Texas high school soccer in probably, I would say, the last maybe 4 to 5 years, definitely in the last 3 years. We're grateful, we're happy, we're humbled to be able to be a small part of it, along with other outlets across the state of Texas, and just seeing the traction slow, just one day at a time, right? One and another day, but the traction that the coverage of our sport is getting, we're very grateful for that. So we will be continue to follow us. Again, we will be announcing our next upcoming episode, which we're still in the works as far as trying to book right now. We got trying to get a lot of great guests. It's just a matter of trying to navigate schedules while also, of course, I'm in season as well. So, Coach, any final thoughts? Anything else you got?
No, just to say good luck. Like I said, continue good luck to all the teams out there, and also to your team. And like I said, we're enjoying watching a lot of the great games. I know there's some interesting matchups coming up, and we'll see who ends up, getting to the playoffs come mid March.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's going to do it again for the Obi-Wan Kenobi of Texas high school soccer. All right, Mr. Papa Socaritis, Rafa Casorana, who is coming to us from his boyhood bedroom in Del Rio. Coach, we really appreciate you. Thank you for making the time. I am your host, Coach Hector Cano, and until the next time, you know what to do. Keep downloading and keep listening. You've been listening to the 50/50 podcast, powered by National Scouting Report. Help us continue to grow by liking, rating, and subscribing on all major podcast platforms. And don't forget to follow us on Twitter at 50_50 pod, on Instagram at 50_50 podcast, as well as on YouTube at the 50_50 podcast. Until the next time, keep downloading and keep listening.